Hey everybody, welcome. Today we are going to be working on how to accent the upstroke. I've designed an exercise, a relatively simple one, and I'm going to walk you through it at a variety of different tempos and difficulties. Before we get started, we are working on Ducks on the Mill Pond over on Patreon. The link is in the description below, a famous trance tune in the old time canon. One of the strange things about Ducks on the Mill Pond is that it relies on a powerful upstroke accent to complete the melody. If you don't get that accent, the melody sort of falls short and it doesn't quite sound like Ducks on the Mill Pond. So this is really an essential technique for this tune and many, many others. So we're going on a deep dive on Ducks on the Mill Pond over on Banjo Quest, and we have an upcoming banjo bootcamp that will dovetail beautifully with the Ducks on the Mill Pond material. They're designed to work together. We have a brand new Discord server. We're having a lot of fun. I hope to see you over there. Let's get started. So we are in double C today. Ducks on the Mill Pond is in double D, so it's a little bit of a departure, but we're just going to be working on some exercises that don't even involve our left hand. We're just going to be focusing on our striking hand today. So get tuned to double C, and we'll get started. All right, so let's set the scene. The first thing we want to do is dial in our double thumbing pattern. That's a downstroke, followed by an upstroke, sounding every note and creating an eighth note pattern. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now at this tempo, it's a great idea to balance out your downstrokes and upstrokes. Easier said than done. Clawhammer is quite idiosyncratic in that our downstroke uses a hard surface, our nail, and a percussive motion, and our upstroke uses a soft surface and a non-percussive motion. We're sort of lifting out of the instrument and collecting the strings as we go. So this makes quite a difference in how we are attacking and getting those strings to vibrate. So balancing them volume-wise is quite a challenge. So take your time before starting today's exercise and make sure you can balance that downstroke and fifth string strike. So now the bulk of our work begins. We are going to do 4 normal double thumb strikes. 1, 2, 3, 4, keeping all notes volume-wise the same. And then the next 4 strokes, we're going to be accenting the fifth string. So you're going to make your fifth string louder. So you've got a 2-measure pattern. One is normal volume all the way around, and the next will be accenting the fifth string. It sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's make this more difficult. Now we're going to take that big pattern, the 2-measure pattern, and squash it into a single measure. So we're going to do 2 downstrokes, normal volume, and then 2 with the accented fifth. On my mark, 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now let's take this to the next level. We're going to take this idea of an accented upstroke and we're going to apply it to a drop thumb. So let's just take a pattern. We'll start simply. Don't worry about the accent yet. We're going to do 3 double thumbs on strings 1 and 5 and then 1 drop thumb on strings 1 and 2. Don't worry about that accent. Just play it all even. Let me show you how it goes. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so now we're going to add our accent to only the drop thumb on the second string. That sounds like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. let's make this a little bit more interesting and a little bit more difficult. I want to shine a spotlight on that accented note. So if we've got a bunch of notes surrounding our accented note, yes, if you accent well with control, it's going to be apparent which note that you're accenting. But if you really want to drive it home, if you want to shine a spotlight on your accented note, especially in upstroke, we can delete or purposefully miss the stroke preceding the accented upstroke. So for example, we're going to miss the first string, 1, 2, 3, skip, and then fire off that drop thumb on the second string on our way up. All together, it's going to sound like 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. So that M skip really allows you to shine a spotlight on your upstroke, increasing the impactfulness of that accent. Something to play around with on your own time. Now here are some hints and tips to get this to work well for you. A couple things that I do when I'm trying to get a good loud sound on my upstrokes. I make sure that I've got plenty of thumb pad on the string. I'm not on the edge like this. I get thin sounds if I'm too on the edge. I'm not lifting or grabbing or rotating out. I'm keeping my upstroke perpendicular to the head. I'm activating that fifth string with the full pad of my thumb, and I'm going in deep to the head. You can tell here that my thumb is constantly contacting the head on my throws, on my downstrokes, and that gets me really deep into the string so I can grip that string with my full thumb pad and pull out and get a nice big sound without distortion, without too much distortion or harsh sounds. It is easy to pop the string and make it sound ugly. You don't want to do that. It should still sound sweet. So be careful as you're doing your accents. A little goes a long way, and we are definitely trying to make a sound that is beautiful and appealing, not something that's ugly and harsh. The other thing I do when I'm trying to get an accent is I put a little bit more pressure on my string activation on the downstroke. So I throw, and if I really want to grip for a big accent, I may just sort of let that hand activate the fifth string a little further towards the fourth string. You can see on my downstroke that fifth string is bending. Watch the scoop here. It's bending towards that fourth string. Now you don't want to bend it so far that your thumb pad contacts the fourth string, so then you will create additional problems. So I'm throwing in, I know I want an accent, and I let that thumb go deep, and I also activate the spring of the string a little bit further than I normally do. Now on the drop thumb, it's very similar. I throw in and I part the strings. I'm still getting deep on that thumb pad. I can't overstate that. That's really important. And I'm also making sure I've got a good grip on it before the upstroke. I'm weighting it down, activating the tension on that second string before my upstroke. Now this happens very quickly, and it has actually, when you're playing up to speed, these elements to the mechanics are quite subtle. So you don't want to overplay it. You don't want to overdo this. These are just sort of the variables that you need to get in line as you're discovering how to create accents in your own playing. Now, this is just the beginning. Next week, we're going to be playing a game. I'm going to challenge you guys to a game that I call the Caterpillar. So make sure you work on this week, and that will prep you for next week's game. Plus, it's going to prepare you for the upcoming boot camp, and most importantly, to really get ducks on the mill pond sounding excellent. All right, that does it for me today. I will see you next time, and maybe on the Discord server on Banjo Quest.